What's going on, everybody? We are live here on the Faithful Fanatic Show right here on DSM Media. Guys, the Phillies are hot, winning 6 straight, looking for 7 tonight against Alcantara and the Marlins. The Eagles inch another day closer to their preseason debut, and Kevin Durant is interested in joining the Philadelphia 76ers. That and a lot more with our guest when we are back in 30 seconds.
Gets around in front. Joel Embiid, and Philadelphia has it.
What's up, everybody? As I said already, we are live here on DSM Media, streaming to you guys live on our Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook channels. If you guys want to be interactive on today's show, the best place to go is our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and send us your questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, whatever you got for us. And today, we are joined by my man, Connor Thomas from 97.5, The Fanatic. Connor, what's going on? Love the jersey. Love the picture in the background.
Thank you. You see it, I got my broom back here. When I do my Locked On Phillies, I got to have the broom following sweeps, and 4-game sweep of the Nationals. He's still hanging out. That's Mr. Broom back there, so he's joining us. I hope
Mr. Broom, 4-game sweep of the Pirates, 4-game sweep of the Nationals. Things get a lot of work lately, dude.
Yeah, more than cleaning up my house. I got to work on that because I'm moving in a couple of weeks. But for now, he's hanging out up against the wall. But how you guys doing? Everything good?
We're good. You coming back to South Jersey? I know we talked before. You're from there now.
Staying in Philly. I'm moving up to Fishtown, right around Girard.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah.
Good for you. But listen, man, we were going to start with the Fightins, and we're going to get into some Eagles, and we're still going to do all of that. However, news broke 2-3 hours ago. Not news, just a little report, just something to get the pot stirred and get everyone riled up again, as Kevin Durant is reportedly interested in the 76ers. The Sixers and the Boston Celtics are his, quote, desired landing spots at the moment. Another quote I saw on Twitter earlier was that some of the higher ups in Sixers management over this past weekend or so, or a week or so, have been discussing how they would love to be involved in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. So first off, is there any, in your opinion, smoke to this report? Is there any truth to it, or is this just more, nothing here? Because the Heat were linked to him. The Celtics were already linked to him. Now it's Philly, apparently. We saw him hanging out with James Harden in London. Is there any truth to this?
Yeah, I think there is some smoke to this one. And the reason being, we heard comments earlier this week from the ownership of the Brooklyn Nets saying, hey, we're going to do what's in the best interest of the Brooklyn Nets, which seems to point towards, hey, we're still working on this trade for Kevin Durant. If he stays, he stays, but we're going to be self-serving, which means conversations are still ongoing internally between Kevin Durant or Kevin Durant's representation and the Brooklyn Nets and everything going there. So that's part one. Part two is, why wouldn't the Sixers be interested? He's a top 5 basketball player on the planet right now, and the Sixers are very much in a short championship window, so he fits in there. So the Sixers are interested. Sounds like the Nets are still trying to make something happen. And the other reason why it makes sense that he wants to go to Philadelphia, I'd imagine he wants to stay East Coast. He is an East Coast guy originally. He's already over here. It doesn't seem like he wants to make a big move. And we've been hearing Miami Heat, the Boston Celtics, teams that are adjacent to New York or closer to this area and in the Eastern Conference, so he doesn't have to deal with LeBron, doesn't have to deal with the Warriors. And Miami can't make the trade that the Brooklyn Nets are going to want because Bam Adebayo still has that weird, rookie contract signing that he can't be on the same team as Ben Simmons. So it's really down to 2 contending teams in the East, and those are the 2 teams that he's listed today. So, yeah, I think there's smoke to it. I don't think the Sixers end up getting it done for a couple of reasons we can get into, but I do think it's a legitimate report, and it's something that we'll have to monitor over the next couple of weeks.
Well, is this the reason? Because this is where everybody's mind goes to. KD is like one of 3 players I'd trade Maxey for. What will it take? Obviously, Toby, Thibault to first, Maxey, and are you willing to part with Tyrese Maxey for Kevin Durant?
So here's the weird thing where I stand. If Tyrese Maxey isn't like kind of the stopping point for me, he is, because he'd be the cornerstone of this trade. He's an amazing player. I don't know if you guys saw what he did at the Rumpf Classic earlier this week, but dude's unbelievable, and I want to keep him here. But I'm not saying no to KD just because of Maxey. You'd have to include Maxey, Thibault, Tobias. You'd have to include picks. You already gave up a bunch of picks to get James Harden. Basically, it would be a all-in move on top of an all-in move you already made by bringing in James Harden. And you were kind of forced into that last one because Ben Simmons wouldn't play for you anymore. But it's a lot to throw on a player. When I look at Kevin Durant, I see an insanely talented basketball player. But I also see a guy that every locker room he's been in has either had issues while he was there, not always centered around him, but just issues in general, or when he's left, there have been comments that have come out about him and don't worry about it, we don't need him, we can win without him, this, that, and the other thing. You even saw it with Golden State, who is ironclad with that stuff and was a built-to-win championship team already. Something about KD and his type of, I don't even want to say personality, but just the drama that seems to follow him on and off the court makes me a little bit worried about going all in and him being the guy, despite how talented he is. Like when you're giving up basically a decade's worth of your future for a guy, there shouldn't be risk involved. Like that should be a guy that you're 100% sold on. And for me, I'm only like 90% there on KD because of his talent. So that makes me wary.
So Scotty checks in and says, KD, Embiid, and Harden give you the best odds for sure. But what are the odds that all three stay healthy for the entire season? And this is the beautiful part about, someone forcing their way out is, sure, the Nets can ask for Jason Tatum. They can ask for Jaylen Brown. Hell, they can ask for Joel Embiid. They can posture all they want. The beautiful thing about it is if Kevin Durant says, I'm not coming back, they're going to move Kevin Durant, and that price is going to come way, way down. Is there any world you see in which that time it keeps getting closer to training camp and then preseason and then the regular season, and he's not coming? He will not play in Brooklyn, right? He stands pat. Is there any way that price comes down so much that the kid's not involved in the package?
It's tough to say. I can't imagine, even if he doesn't play, that the price comes down far enough, because I think there'll be other teams that'll then jump in on Kevin Durant that they can't offer totally the Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris,
but better than Tobias Harris,
but better than what other teams are currently offering. And the Nets are going to be more inclined to take something like that. Like if the Sixers aren't willing to include Maxey, they're not even close to creating a deal that'll work for Kevin Durant, which is the tough thing about going all in. He'll have to be a part of it. And even with the price coming down, he's still going to have to be a part of it. Tyrese Maxey, that is. So they'd have to have a lot of things fall their way to be able to get the deal done without him at any point.
I agree. It doesn't happen without him. I just wanted to see maybe they get to September and they can just offer him whatever they want and we'll take them off their hands. But I think Kata and myself are in the same boat here. And we've discussed this a couple, not months, but a few weeks back when KD initially said he wanted out and the whole rumor was that he wanted away from Kyrie and the Nets and everything. And I'm sorry, dude. Scotty, I'm sorry. I love me some Tyrese Maxey. I'm trading Tyrese Maxey for Kevin Durant. Like I get it. He's another year older, battle some injuries. I get your risk about the locker room concerns, but you top five. Are we sure? Is he not top three? Is KD not top three at this point still?
The injury issues are a little bit tough to deal with. But I mean, you can make the argument for that. Top five feels like the safe clarifier to put.
Sure.
Yeah, you can make the argument he's the best basketball player on the planet right now. So yeah,
exactly.
I wouldn't fight anyone.
I just can't sit here and be like, you know what? No, I wouldn't do it. But you are correct in a sense that if there should be no risk involved with that type of move, and if there's any sense of risk, you're probably going to back off of that stance. So
yeah, and I'm not saying a big trade there shouldn't be risk with. I'm saying if you're trading for a guy that's a top three player on planet Earth, that should be a no-brainer. And the fact that it's not is like in the back of my mind. Ooh,
I feel you.
Man.
I feel you. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out.
This trade, if it goes down, this is it. It's either they're going to win a championship or they're done.
They're never.
I mean, Harden doesn't have a big window, and Embiid probably doesn't have that big of a window. If you want to go for it, this would be it.
100%. And did you who was on ESPN? Was it Bobby Marks today? Did you see that clip? Bobby Marks predicting I think it was him, so don't hold me to this, but it was someone on ESPN this afternoon saying he predicts James Harden is going to finish in the top 3 of MVP voting this season, nice. And that he'll get back to Houston Harden. I don't know if that's the case. It was just slightly nice to hear after seeing how national media and even people in the city looked at the end of last season and the playoff run with James Harden, how he's watched, how he's this. If there's thoughts or if there's just thoughts that he can get back to that type of player, that is humongous. But all right, I'm done talking about Kevin Durant. I'm done talking about the 76ers because there is a team right now in this city, Connor, that is on fire. You might want to keep the broom out because I don't know if they're going anywhere, man. And this is a conversation I've had on the show for the past about week and a half, 2 weeks. The word different is being used a lot when it comes to this team by myself, by social media, people, on the radio. The word different. Why does it feel so different? Does it feel different to you, and why? Like,
now,
they're
different opposed to earlier this year, or different opposed to Phillies teams of the past?
Of the past. So like I've heard it even in the beginning of the year, you would hear like when they win a game, they wouldn't have won that game last year. This is different. But now when they sweep the Pirates, they split with the Braves, they sweep the Nationals, different is being thrown around a lot, meaning they haven't been able to handle bad teams like this in the past in August and September to really make that push.
Yeah, here's the thing. They're a significantly better team. So yeah, they're different, but it's not unexpected to me because when you bring in guys like Kyle Schwarber, who has a World Series to his resume, who's been in the playoffs multiple times, who's been that guy. Not the main guy, but he was on those Chicago Cubs teams that were really talented. When you bring in a guy like Nick Castellanos, who's not a playoff player in the past, but a guy who's been on contending teams to make the playoffs, who's been a talented guy, who's been an all-star, who wants to win badly, has proven he can play at this level. Like that just evens out your lineup. When you look at the bullpen, and you bring in a guy at the trade deadline in David Robertson, who had a lot of high leverage innings early in his career with the New York Yankees, and some of the other guys that have been with the Phillies for long enough that they're more veteran. It's just a more veteran team. It's a team that you trust a lot more of these guys. The young players, outside of maybe Bryson Stott, and now Brandon Marsh, who joined the team at the trade deadline, obviously. The young players who are even homegrown are guys that have been around long enough that they've been through the trials and tribulations of a playoff run. So this is just a team that now contains a bunch of guys that know how to win at this level. Before, in past seasons, they were learning how to win at this level, and they were also having a manager who wasn't doing much to help them. Now they have a manager who's keeping it very simple for them and doing all the right small things, but not trying to make big moves, and allowing the guys who are talented major league proven players to win games. So yeah, it's different compared to the past couple years, but to me, not unexpected when you look at the names that they have on this roster and the names they added at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and on to that manager point, do you think my boss Rob has done enough? Is he the manager of the future?
I don't know how he couldn't be. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to sign him. A lot of people have brought up, just end the interim tag right now. Give him the contract, sign to the – there's no reason. He's not going anywhere. He's been in baseball forever. He's spent so much time in the game. He's clearly doing well with this team. He's settled in, and he's been with the organization since 2017. So he's settled into the city. He's used to being here. It's not like he's going to go take a job with, I don't know, the Angels or something if the season ends and the Phillies haven't offered him the job yet. So let's see how it plays out. Let's get as much money as we can out of this interim manager's tag because we don't have to rush to pay him yet. And he will be the manager of the future, but it won't happen until the offseason.
Yeah, man. So you brought up the bullpen a second ago, and that's kind of where I want to take the conversation next. So in the beginning of the season, I was fully on board with this bullpen just needs to be average, right? Just middle of the pack, not kill you, not blow lead after lead historically like they did the past 2 seasons, and this team will compete. Forget that conversation's out the window at this point. This bullpen seems to have talent at the back end of it. They're deep. they have about 3 or 4 guys they can throw at you through the seventh through ninth inning. So what are your thoughts on the bullpen as a whole right now? And also, are you okay with the fact that they don't have a defined closer? Like, are you okay with the fact that you can see David Robertson out there in the ninth one day,
Mm-hmm.
Brad Hand if lefties come up, Sir Anthony? What are your thoughts on the bullpen right now?
Yeah, I'm good with that, the non-defined closer role, because it's been working, right? I'm cool with whatever works. Baseball is one of those sports where there's a million ways to do it. I brought up the Chicago Cubs that won the World Series back in 16. And you think back to that team and what Joe Madden did with the lineup. He'd bat everybody lead off. He'd bat the pitcher like seventh. There's a million ways you can do it and be successful in baseball. So not having a defined closer is fine for me as long as it works. And this is a team that has, like you said, 3, 4, 5 guys that you could throw from the 7th to 9th inning in high leverage spots and feel comfortable with them. It speaks to how good this bullpen's been. And it's an incredible jump, right? Because we thought it was going to be a linear progression. They were terrible in 2019 and 2020. And then in 2021, they were bad just by regular MLB standards. Right. And then you think, okay, they'll be average this year. And then maybe next year they'll get up to it. And some guys just figured it out. Like Sir Anthony Dominguez being healthy is huge. Jose Alvarado, I have no idea if he found magic beans in the minor leagues or something like that, but he's just all of a sudden been unhittable, and he should be. David Robertson owes you because of what he had last time here, and I feel like he needs to vindicate himself because of the injuries. It's just the perfect storm of a lot of guys figuring stuff out at once, but they've been doing it for so long. It's not an anomaly anymore. This is just a good bullpen, and it feels weird to say that in Philadelphia because we haven't had it since 2009, 2010, but that's what these guys are.
It's been a while, dude.
It really has.
Yeah,
so
Derek Hall has provided a huge jolt to this lineup when Harper went down. What will he play at all once Harper's back, or is he just done? Kind of.
It's tough because Harper's going to DH. You guys saw the report that his elbow was stiff when he was throwing, which I wasn't really expecting him to play the field. I don't know. Rest can help that injury slightly. Like you'll feel good because I partially tore my UCL multiple times playing. So I've had the injury, and rest will help you be good for like a week, and then it just comes right back. So it doesn't fully fix it. So he'll have to DH. And I don't know how Derek Hall fits in. He's probably going to be, honestly, how we talked about the Phillies acquiring like a Matt Stairs type bat at the trade deadline being potentially one of the options. He could be that guy that he just hangs on the bench. He'll get a spot start at first base every once in a while. Maybe he'll get to DH if Bryce needs a day off and you want to keep a lefty at the designated hitter spot. You're facing a righty pitcher. But he seems like the guy that you're going to have hanging around where if you need a big series, you see a righty reliever come in and you've got him available to pinch hit and leave the yard. That seems like what's going to be his role going forward. And it's underserving for how good he's been, but it tells you how talented this roster is going to be and this lineup's going to be when Bryce gets back.
So speaking of this lineup, we've seen June Schwarber, we've seen July Bohm. We're starting maybe here and there to see August Costi until Bryce is back. Now, I know they're all going to have to contribute. They all have been. But who to you is the single most important bat in this lineup to either get hot or stay hot to help carry them to the end of August, September when Bryce can come back?
Yeah, so Castellanos is where everyone's mind goes because he's the one that you're paying all the money. He's your big signing. You're excited to see him. I don't care who's getting paid what. I care who's going to produce the most. And right now, it's JT Realmuto. He's on fire right now. And if he continues to do what he's doing, like Nick Castellanos will hit. I'm not totally convinced the power numbers are going to come this year because it's a little late in the year for him to just figure out the power. Like Kyle Schwarber figured it out because it's literally all he has. That's what he does. Home runs to him are singles to every other hitter in Major League Baseball. But Castellanos has always been more of a doubles guy in his career. And even when he's going good, his peak last year was more an anomaly. His peak is really peppering the gaps and doing that consistently. JT's a guy that can leave the yard more, I think, and he's proven that this year, at least right now, compared to what Castellanos can give you. So that extra power, the home run is king in Major League Baseball, and JT staying hot is probably the most important thing to me while we wait for Bryce to get back.
I like it. I like it. I wasn't expecting that answer from you, but I definitely like it. JT drove in what, 2 last night? Yeah.
He
So
did. He
we'll
had the
see.
solo homer and the double
Mm-hmm.
off of that error in
Mm-hmm.
right field because the Marlins have no idea what they're
That's
doing.
another thing, man. You see the term different. That's different. They wouldn't have made the Marlins pay off of an error last night.
Right.
It wouldn't have happened before. But one last Phillies question before we get into just a few Eagles stuff, and then we'll get you out here. Don't want to take too much of your time, but we are way past being hopeful for the last wild card spot, fighting for that last wild card spot with the Cardinals or the Brewers, whoever it's going to be. We are now at the point where my eyes are up here looking ahead of me and looking at the Atlanta Braves for that first wild card spot. Now, I did see shortly before we went live, you did put an article out about this and the 2 seed. And my mind kind of goes there as well, because if you can argue 3 seed and you get the Brewers or Cardinals, or 2 seed and you got to go to Atlanta in a short series, not loving it. But are you focused on catching the Braves? I meant the Braves, not
Right.
whoever I just said. Are you focused on catching the Braves? And then what are your thoughts on the whole 1, 2, and 3 wild card spot right here? Where do you want them to land?
So I'm in a weird spot with this. And I got into it a little bit with some of the guys over at the Fanatic on this earlier this week. I want them to catch the Braves, absolutely. I'm looking at that, and I'm keeping an eye on where the Braves are in the standings. I want to be careful, though, of saying the expectation is for them to catch the Braves, because the 2 teams they're competing with in the wild card race, the Padres, the Braves, those are 2 teams that I still think are more talented than the Philadelphia Phillies in a vacuum. It doesn't mean they're going to finish ahead of the Phillies. Doesn't mean the Phillies can't beat them in a series or compete with them. But you look at the Padres lineup, they're more stacked. They went a lot more all in, obviously, with the Juan Soto, Josh Bell move. You look at the Braves, they're the defending World Series champions. So the way I look at it is like, if the Phillies finish behind the Braves, who won the World Series last year, and the Padres, who traded for one of the best players in baseball at the deadline, would I be upset over that? I don't think the answer is yes, as long as they make it in the playoffs. I think I'd be cool with that. They have the ability, though, to make it into the first wild card spot. They're currently in the second one. But you brought it up, right? If they're in the 2 spot for the wild card, not only would they have to go play whoever comes in first, which right now is the Atlanta Braves. So you'd have to play 3 games on the road, divisional opponent, defending World Series champion. And then you'd have to go play whoever the 1 seed ends up being, which right now looks like it's the Dodgers. Or if you're in the 3 or the 1 for the wild card positioning, you're going to play either the NL Central winner, or you're going to get the opportunity to get a home game. So to me, that second spot in the wild card, because of
No
how
man's
weak
land.
Central is, it is no man's land. And I'm not going to be upset if they end up there.
Right, but
I'm kind of taking anything on top of just making the playoffs is gravy for me, because we haven't done it for a decade, right, boys?
right. I mean, it's a lot different when you're looking at in baseball, where you're talking about division winners and then you're talking about wild card. And like in the NBA, we're always posturing for seeding, right? When it comes to the Sixers,
Right.
who would you rather see? And then if you went here, you could possibly see this team in the second round. It's a lot easier when you're just talking about 1 through 8, 1 through 10. Instead, you're talking about a wild card outside of the top 3. Oh, if we get here, we got to go here. So I obviously would like it if they finished higher, but I'd also like it a bit more if they got to play the Brewers or the Cardinals in the first round and not have to worry about going to Atlanta and then getting the Dodgers. So it's going to be an interesting end to the season. What is this team's ceiling? If they make it to the playoffs, what is their ceiling?
You're going to make me say it. I will.
Yeah.
I'll say it right now.
Rip
Their
it.
ceiling's the World Series. We see wild card teams win the World Series all the time. We saw the Washington Nationals do it in 2019. Like, teams catch fire. The Braves were not good last year partway through the season, and they just got hot at the right time, missing Ronald Acuna Jr., and ended up winning it all. Baseball is weird with that. Like, hot teams are very important, and the key to a World Series winning team, a talented veteran lineup, check, Phillies have it. A good top end of the rotation, check, the Phillies absolutely have it with Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler and whoever you want to pick to start the third game. And a bullpen that you can count on to get you 3 innings worth of work night in and night out. They got those 3 things. Now, there are other teams that may have it a little bit better set up or more trustworthy because they've seen it work before, but there's no reason that if this team gets hot, they can't win it all. Again, not the expectation, but if you're asking me the ceiling, it's not impossible that if they get hot at the right time, they end up hosting a trophy.
Just got to get in the dance, right? Just
Yes,
gotta
sir.
make it to the dance. Let's switch over to the Eagles for a few moments before we wrap this one up. Real quick before we get into the preseason game, what has been standing out to you so far in camp, just based off of what you're seeing on social media, reports you're hearing, so on and so forth? Anything stand out to you, positive or negative?
Yeah, I mean, you can't put a lot of stock into most of the reports you see out of training camp. The video of Jordan Davis outside of the open practice, that was pretty cool. Him lifting Cam Jurgens off his feet like he was a 10-year-old. That's good to see. And
his response today might have been a little better though.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. What got into it?
What are you doing today? Where have you been?
He defended Jurgens.
Took a long nap. Working. I'm up at 4 a.m., man.
I'm messing with you. They asked him about the video and how it went viral or whatever, and he said he actually hates it because it only shows one rep and it doesn't show Jurgens getting the better end of him in practice and in other reps.
He's a great guy.
I know.
Awesome. And that's
I know the rookie
top pick in the NFL is by having like those intangibles as well. He's going to be an absolute fan favorite here. So the stuff I've been hearing about him is great. And what I've been hearing about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts' relationship, he can't. Now, Hurts, I don't want to be 100% reliant on A.J. Brown because they'll bracket coverage to him all year long and try and jump routes and take it away. But the fact that they're building that chemistry so well already is great news. There have been teams that have tried to get that big wide receiver, and maybe the quarterback and like a top wide receiver. I'm making up a totally random scenario. We've never seen this in Philadelphia, but maybe like you go out and you get a top wide receiver, and then pretty soon the quarterback and the top wide receiver don't get along, and it causes issues in the locker room.
Yeah,
it would never happen.
It's never happened.
No, never. And then the guy does sit-ups in the driveway. I've heard of it somewhere, but
yeah.
So it's good to see that they have this relationship.
Then he made a rap song.
All hypothetical, of course. We're just making this up.
Yeah. Got it.
So who should we watch out for on Friday? I mean, I know the starters are only going to play a couple snaps, but who is the guy that you think maybe the next Paul Turner?
The next Paul Turner. Hopefully they're better than what Paul Turner ended up being. The position battles I'm really looking at is who ends up being the fifth wide receiver for the Eagles offense, because Jalen Reagor is very much on the bubble. I agree with you there. I don't think he's a talented football player, and it sucks that the Eagles used the draft
the most polite way I've ever heard that phrase. I don't think he's a very talented football player.
Yeah, I don't. And maybe he ends up somewhere else and doing something good, but it won't be here in Philadelphia. But he's a guy that had enough talent to be considered as a first-round pick at least at some point in his career, even coming out of TCU. So maybe back against the wall, knowing that, hey, you might get cut this year, brings out another level in him that we haven't seen to this point. That's wishful thinking. But so I'm focused on that position battle between Quez, Zach Pascal, who had a tough bout with food poisoning, who's trying to come back from that. You saw he lost
looks great now, apparently.
Pounds. Yeah, but see how he plays, and Jalen Reagor. And then I'm also looking at Nakobe Dean, who's currently listed at a linebacker backup position. Probably going to see a good amount of run for him on Friday night against the Jets, and seeing what he looks like against NFL-level talent size-wise. The Jets are a really talented young team. Like, they're a great preseason team, meaning their second and third stringers are super talented, just not ready to be starters yet. So how Nakobe Dean stacks up against guys in NFL size will be interesting to me as well.
So just like we're not going to see a lot out of the starters, they're only going to play 1 or 2 series, like Sirianni said today. You're not going to see much there. You also aren't going to see much from, a scheme-wise for the offense. But defensively, they're not going to tip their hand. They're not going to give a lot away. But are you looking at anything in terms of Jonathan Gannon, what he decides to do? Maybe not even just on Friday night, but throughout the preseason, like watching where the corners and safeties are lined up, watching how much pressure. Are you looking at anything to tell you that the scheme might be a little bit different?
No, I'd be really surprised if they ran anything but like a base 3-4 or flipping to a base 4-3 with straight up coverage. They might press the corners a little bit. They might run. I was talking about bracket coverage with A.J. Brown, how teams might do that in the regular season. They might like bracket with some safeties to see how Marcus Epps, Jaquiski Tart, Anthony Harris do with that. But I don't expect them to show anything at all in the preseason. Right. They're barely going to play their starters. They've had a very minimal training camp. This is hey, trust that we're going to have the guys execute the scheme when it matters, but not show anything on the field, because that's one of the big questions, right? How will Jonathan Gannon retool this defense to fit a much more talented roster? Now, I don't think they're going to give that up in preseason games. So I'd expect very vanilla defense and very just straight up base formations on that side of the ball.
Are you worried at all about any of the injuries that you've seen? Obviously, the Kelsey thing was very odd to me. Like they called it a routine clean. There's no such thing as a routine surgery. Devontae Smith has now missed 5 practices in a row with that groin injury. It could all be precautionary. And we know that they're limiting their practice time and what they're doing to help get to be healthy at week 1. But are you worried at all when it comes to Devontae Smith, Jason Kelsey, anything like that? Kenny Gainwell's out at the moment.
No, I'm really not. The only thing I want to see is I want Kelsey obviously to be available for the season opener, but short of that, I'm not worried. And it sounds like the minor surgery, he should be good to go for that. That's the reports that we're hearing. The last we talked to at the Fanatic was Tim McManus, and he said the expectation is they should be available, but we'll see. The Eagles are taking a very, very cautious approach to training camp. They did it last year. They're doing it again this year. And last year, the cautious training camp approach had them as one of the 3 least injured teams in the NFL. So I think that's really what it is. You get any type of minor thing, you're sitting out. The concussions that have been happening on the offensive line, there's a couple guys that have had concussions already.
With the cap they're putting on the helmet too.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it feels different to them, so they're like angling their head weird when I don't know what that is, but that's a little bit worrying because having a concussion can lead to getting a second one easier. But no, Devontae, I'm not worried about. Kenneth Gainwell, I'm not worried about. Kelsey, I'm not overly worried about. I think this is just Nick Sirianni and the staff being really, really careful so that everybody's good to go. And you don't have – we'll see the Jets Friday night. They lost Mekhi Becton for the year with a broken kneecap. Like, you don't want any of that happening. So I'd rather Devontae Smith miss 5 training camp practices than anything like that.
All right, man. The rest of my Eagles questions are more regular season based, so we'll get to those. Hopefully have you on closer towards the regular season, not on August, what's today, the 10th. A little far away for any of those predictions. But I have one last question for you. Something I see on your Twitter a lot, something I've seen the station joke around with you a lot for some of the hosts there.
Here we go.
Is it okay to walk in softball?
Of course it's okay to walk in softball. Listen, I play in a league that starts with a 1-1 count, right? So it's not like I'm up there taking 4 balls. It only takes 3 to walk. So that definitely factors in. If they're not throwing me a strike, like I bat leadoff. If I don't see a strike, I play at 9 a.m. on Sunday mornings. I don't know what your guys' Saturday nights are like, but if I spend a whole week waking up at 4 a.m. to go in and do morning radio, I'm enjoying my Saturday nights.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing I'm seeing like 3 softballs when I step up there for my first at bat on Sunday morning. So I'm taking until they throw me a strike. And then if you don't throw me a strike, I'm just going to keep taking until you make me hit. As easy as it is to hit in softball.
They're scared to pitch to you, bro.
That's not it. See, I don't want to say that because I know there are guys in this league that follow what I do on the radio, and they're going to start actually like coming after me. But I'm taking my time working into the game, and also I'm not trying to give away at bats because it's competitive. We score like 30 runs total every game, so in 7-inning games, you can't give it bats.
Leadoff hitter, man. Leadoff hitter. Your goal is to get on base, right? Get on base.
Yeah, I got the wheels. I'm much more dangerous on first base than I am in the dugout.
Even after a Saturday night out. Little tip for you: next time you see 3 balls coming your way, just hit the one in the middle. Right.
That's the big key.
That's all it takes. All right, guys. This is Connor Thomas from 97.5, The Fanatic. Buddy, thank you so much for coming back on again. Hopefully, we'll be talking to you in a few weeks, maybe a month or so, closer to Eagles season, and hopefully closer to a Phillies playoff berth as well. Thanks again. Check him out on Twitter at Connor Thomas 975.
Thanks, guys. Always fun. You guys take it easy.
See you, buddy. Good stuff there from Connor. Where do we want to go first with this? We're not going to stay on here for too much longer, but I do want to dissect some of the things we covered with him. We can also get into tonight's Phillies game just a bit before I go head over to pregame live. So in terms of the Phillies, let's start there. we mentioned, you brought up the Derek Hall question. You brought up Bryce Harper coming back. I did see Jason Stark said like an hour ago that this is a guy who is going to need Tommy John. Yeah, that
means he's
worries
gone
me.
next year too.
Yeah, this is probably going to be an end.
Honestly, I'd shut him down.
It's so tough, right? Like, do you like, if you think you can win a World Series, he can clearly hit. That's not the issue, but it's like, do you want to get this out of the way already? I don't know. It's concerning. Well, he said it's the looks of a guy who's going to need Tommy John. So that's not inspiring at all.
No,
to see.
especially from a guy like Jason Stark. He
Right.
knows what he's talking about.
When you bring up Hall and you bring up these guys that are DHing and you bring up Harper coming back because that's where he's going to have to play, it takes away the flexibility Rob Thompson has at the moment. He's done a great job of utilizing that DH spot all around. He uses Hall consistently against right-handers. When it's a lefty, he'll have Hoskins DH, he'll have Schwarber DH, he'll have Castellanos DH, he'll have JT DH. He does a very good job of getting guys days off, but not actually getting a day off. Their bat is still involved in this lineup. Does it not worry you at all? Because obviously we're all ready for Bryce to come back. We're all pounding the table for Harper to be back in the middle of this lineup, but it is going to take away that factor. And also when you take into account with the DH thing now, obviously that's where guys like Hall become less, disposable within your lineup. Because when pitchers are batting, you obviously could use a guy like Derek Hall coming up in the 8th inning in a 2-run game, blah, blah, blah. Can't do that anymore for the most part. Unless like Imundo Sosa's up to bat in the 9th and you're down 1 or 2 and you got a runner on and you pinch hit Hall for the matchup. Outside of that, I don't see ways in which he's going to get in the game unless it's to spell Rhys Hoskins 1 every dozen games or so.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I was worried about Hall when he was coming through the system is he was a first baseman, but really couldn't play first base too much. He's improved there defensively at least, but where like you can't really put him anywhere. And yeah, he's got power, but what else does he bring you? You already have a guy like that in Schwarber,
right,
who can at least play the outfield. So I'm not sure where he fits on the Phillies in the future. Unless they are saying we're done with Rhys Hoskins.
100%. And you bring up, because think about this, right? If Bryce is back in right field, like forget the DH thing. If Bryce is back in right field, hold on, let's count the outfielders up. Hold on. Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper. One of them's DH, bud. So it's like, it's not even just the fact that Bryce has to come back and he's taking his spot directly at the DH. Even if Bryce was able to throw with his elbow and be in right field every night, Castellanos or Schwarber will still be DHing. There is no spot for him currently. I would 100% leave him up on with the ball club. I wouldn't send him back down. He's a nice piece to have.
He's not going to develop anymore. He is what he is. Like,
right.
It's not like you're focusing on a guy who's got the potential to be something. He's 27 years old already. Like, he should be in the majors. Just is it with the Phillies or not?
Right. So, a few more things. I want to talk about tonight's game with you and get your opinion on the pitching matchup. Sandy Alcantara against Thor. Syndergaard makes his second start for the Phillies. Weird start. Obviously, that game got cut short. Finished a complete game in a win. However, a lot of hits, couple runs, wasn't too pretty of a performance. And it was very odd to me. So I want to get your thoughts on how he looked in his debut, because his early count stuff looked great. He was mixing in all speed. He was mixing in the fastball. Everything was down in the zone, painting the corners, right? And every count, dude, was 0-2, 1-2, 1-2, 0-2. He just couldn't put anyone away. And I know he's not the Noah Syndergaard of the past. I know he's not pumping 98, 99, 100 anymore and missing all these bats all the time. But he only struck out 2, gave up 11 hits, and every 1-2 or 0-2 count was just a changeup or a four-seamer right down the pipe. And it was just getting, left field, the gap, right field. How can he fix that? And do you see him being better tonight?
Yeah, I think it was just nervousness for his first start here. I think he does need to learn how to pitch a little bit. When he when he was Thor of old, he just pumped fastballs past people and could do that. Now he's got to learn, okay, I can't just throw a 97-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle of the plate. I have to locate this. And it's almost like he has to reinvent himself again after the Tommy John surgery. And I don't think it's too hard to do. You just need to hit your spots. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, he's missing his spots so badly. He counts.
Yeah.
Dude.
I think it was nervousness and it was really hot, but we'll see. Who knows? Like Wheeler had a bad night last night, even though he only gave it 1 run.
Right.
So
right.
We'll see.
Struggle with control with his command. Got it.
Yeah.
How can the Phillies attack Sandy Alcantara tonight? Obviously, they were able to squeak out a win against them. And what was that? A 2-1 win in Miami or shortly before the All-Star break. He is the favorite to win the NL Cy Young at the moment. He is filthy. How do you attack him tonight with this Phillies lineup?
I don't know if there's really an answer to that besides try to hit the ball.
Right. Are you more of a let's get out early in the count on him? Because if you get down 0-2, 1-2, good night. Or you make him work, throw pitches, get his count up. How would you go about it?
I want him out of the game as soon as possible. The Marlins bullpen is not very good. If you can get him out in the 6th inning, I think you can win the game. Your problem is if he's got 80 pitches going in the 9th inning, you're done. It's over. But I mean, I wouldn't just like let fastballs down the middle of the plate go either. Like hit that ball. But I'd try to work the count as much as you can against them.
For sure. All right, man. Last topic of today's show, the Phillies. The Eagles are another day closer to their first preseason game, as we discussed with Connor. Not a lot to really look into, but what are you specifically watching? I know he mentioned some of the rookies. He mentioned Nakobe Dean. He mentioned the safety position. Is there anything offensively you're looking at? And even running backs. Kenny G's out. Boston Scott's out. If Sanders only plays 2 series, I don't know what you're really analyzing back there. I guess receiver-wise, as he brought up, the Zach Pascal, Quez Watkins, and anyone below them, that's kind of intriguing, I guess. So it's just I'm only looking forward to Eagles football being back. Like I'm excited to just watch those first 2 series of the offense. Watch the starters on defense get out there for a little bit. And then it'll be background noise to me. I'm not going to be sitting here on the edge of my seat watching Gardner Minshew and whoever else come to the game. And, who cares? Who gives a damn? But it is exciting that it's finally back. You get a slight taste of actual football, and you see what they look like for half a second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually not even going to be able to watch the game because I'm going to be at the concert. But I'll look at
what concert?
It's the Tidal Wave Festival. It's like a whole bunch of country artists. But I'm not really I don't put too mumuch stock into preseason football at all, especially nowadays. Like you're playing 2 series, that's it. I guess the guy that I'm looking for, I guess because he's like kind of a folk hero already, is Britton Covey. I don't know what he is. Maybe he shows some flashes, maybe he doesn't, but there's not really too much. Maybe you see Carson Strong can throw. I don't know. I don't know what you even look for there because you're playing against, who is it, the Jets?
Right.
Who's a terrible team anyway. So, I don't even know what to really watch for besides, Eagles football's back because they're playing pickup football.
I got you. And I'm just checking our DSM messages. Scotty, I was not calling you out, my man. I was just saying I would trade Tyrese Maxey for KD.
I'm surprised he was more mad about that than Tobias.
yeah.
He's
all right, guys. That is
Tobias off. Goodbye.
That is going to wrap up this edition of the Faithful Fanatic Show. You guys know the drill. If you're new to the channel, head on over to @DSM_media. Hit that follow button on Twitter. The link tree is in our bio. Click it. Takes you to every social media platform we are available on. If you want to be interactive in the shows, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, like the videos. We greatly appreciate it. Guys, come hang out with myself and the beard here at DSM in about 40 minutes as we get you guys ready for this Phillies Marlins Game 2 matchup on DSM pregame live. Have a great rest of your night.
And Philadelphia has it.
Swing and a miss.